Hey, I'm Chris from the band The Ataris, and you are watching Me with Eric live.
Alright, I am sitting here with the man himself.
Hi, I'm Christopher Rowe from the band The Ataris. Nice to be here.
Where does the name The Ataris come from?
Well, see, I'm 33, and when I was really young, I used to collect the old vintage Atari arcade games. And yeah, you know, it was just one of those things. It's like a pop culture reference that I feel most people can understand and relate to. I mean, granted, though, I find that the younger the crowds are, the less and less they have no clue what Atari is. You know, but that's all right, because to us it was like some stupid name that we didn't have something, and my friend of mine when I was a teenager thought of it on the spot. You know, it was like, that'll work. Yeah. The focus right now, though, is like we went up to the Northeast, down to the all the way down to Florida, back up through the Midwest, and then finished the vocals for our new album, which should be out in the summer. Then we have a new 7-inch that's coming out in May on a label out of Gainesville called Paper and Plastic. And
what is the name of the new album coming out?
Oh, the new album is going to be called The Graveyard of the Atlantic. It's a reference to a big underwater bed where all these shipwrecks were on the eastern seaboard of America.
Alright, so you guys have a lot more, I guess, a lot deeper names that we would have to do some research to find out.
I like to think that at least a good portion of our better songs are songs that are kind of encoded and like have a lot of depth to them. To me, as a songwriter, you know, the one thing I like to do is try to like write with the most depth and put as many little like encrypted things in my songs as possible. And to me, you know, the writers that I love are the ones that are good storytellers, and you know, if a song has a good narrative and it tells a good story, then you know, you're doing something right. And I just really don't like silly music or music that's really novelty, and I think those are the songs of this band that we just kind of let it die. You know, there's some songs in this band that I feel that do have a lot of heart, and those are the ones I think that we tend to focus on.
What would you say is the best memory for you know, best show you guys have ever played that you could think about? I mean, I would say the biggest show.
Well, biggest show is not necessarily our best show, you know. I mean, because you know, we opened for the Red Hot Chili Peppers in Germany, and it was 65,000 people, which is about almost a little more than the city I was born in. But to me, something like that isn't as fun as like the show we played the other night in Fall River, Massachusetts, where it was 100 people and everyone, you know, in a small little VFW hall, and everyone was, you know, there was no stage, and we're all like, you know, I'm singing in the crowd the entire show, and everyone's falling over the pedals, and there's like, you know, beer spilled all over the pedals, and everyone's going crazy and jumping up the PA. To me, that's the kind of shows that I love, and that's what this band is about. You know, the big venues with the big stages, and you know, everything is really kind of homogenized, and you have to, you know, pay your extra $10 to Clear Channel and Live Nation and all those conglomerates. I think that to me is kind of taking what I loved about rock music out of it, and we try to avoid that, and that's why we booked this whole tour ourselves via our Facebook and MySpace. And you know, we don't take any crew out with us. We sell our own merch. We are the kind of band that do everything ourselves, and that to me is how I've always operated the Ataris. You know, even at the height of this band, we always tried to be the band that's the way we operated, and that's what it's about. So we were lucky enough we got to play the All-Star game, and then we played one song out on like second base, and that was pretty intimidating. I mean, things like that, like honestly, you don't even know they're happening until after they're done, because you're just so frazzled by it. You know, like for me, like I still get anxiety when we play, you know, in front of, you know, 200 people. So that's just because there's just something about it, like it doesn't ever set with me that like I'm lucky enough to be out doing something I love and playing our songs every night in front of people who are singing them back to me. So playing stuff like that, it doesn't even register. I mean, it's like afterwards you're like, wow, did we just do that? But I remember, my memory for that day was we did it, and I literally got on a plane right after we played, and I was in the airport, and there were all these people that were sitting there in the sports bar like, hey, I just saw you play on TV, and I'm like, that's so weird. And then I flew home out of Chicago, and or I flew to meet the band in another city or something. And then we got to play at the Yankees Red Sox when they were in the series, in one of the few games that put the Sox into the series. We played at Fenway Park. So yeah, those two memories are really awesome memories for me, and I'll never forget them. But were they my favorite things we ever did? Yeah. No, because it was more frightening than it was like, you can't really enjoy yourself in those moments because it's all like hustle and bustle. You get there at 6 a.m., you're like, you know, escorted in, and you don't get a chance to enjoy yourself. Yeah. So, you know, seize the moment while it's there, enjoy yourself, and to me, I enjoy myself most when I can just relax and have a good time in the small little dives.
I've heard a lot of people, and I could see myself not enjoying it as much if, you know, let's say I made it big, because I feel like you don't have the same freedom that you once had to do what you want to do.
We always had complete freedom of everything we did, so I guess we were an exception. Every choice we ever made in this band was something that I chose to do, whether some of them were dumb or not. The only thing I could say not is that, you know, on our Soul in the Story record, our second single we were about to release and do a video for was the song My Reply, and there was a big radio station in Los Angeles that started playing Boys of Summer straight from the record, and I think if it was our choice, that wouldn't have been our second single. I mean, we didn't really intend for it to be a single at all, but I think we were naive to think that putting a song like that on a record that had already been a previous hit, that we were naive to think that it wouldn't have been a hit, you know. But we didn't have the foresight at the time. We were young, and we were just, you know, we just wanted. I had a reason to record it, and it's because, you know, it was something that was personal to me. Because my grandmother, when I was 8 years old, you know, I'd go down when my parents were divorced, fly down to Florida and spend time with them, and my dad's mom and dad, and she took me out to buy that record. I chose, you know, that record always reminded me of a summer when she was alive, so I chose to cover the song. And so if you know, if anything, that was the only thing that was something that I didn't choose. But I think keeping things within your control, meaning like the only problem is when your band gets to a certain point and you're so big that you can't control, like, whereas before that album we would write back to every piece of literal mail we got. And then I remember coming home from tour on the first leg of the tour for So Long Astoria, and we literally had 2 bags of mail we had to pick up at the post office, and I'm like, I don't think we're going to be able to do this. And so we just finally like would read everything and just write back to things that were
stood out from the
yeah,
crowd.
and I think, you know, that's when I started to feel like, well, I guess I can't operate this band always the way I want it to be, and I like it to be manageable. So now it's manageable again. But I mean, you know, I always want to feel like we're reaching as many people as possible. And I guess if that's the baggage that comes with it, then something you got to accept. But I don't think I was ready to accept that at 25. 33, yeah. I think I pretty much accept that, you know, you can't please everybody. And then I don't think I knew that.
What song, I guess, would you say means the most to you when you think back and you're like, God, this
something I've written?
Yeah.
Well, we just re-recorded an old song of ours called Fast Times at Dropout High, and that's going to be on our new album, and it was actually on one of our earlier records. I chose to re-record it because I just feel it never was done justice as to how we play it live. And that song it has a lot of personal depth and meaning. It's about a lot of things, but mostly it was just about growing up in my small little town in Indiana and just not having anyone, you know, be it teachers or peers, feel like in a town like that playing music and writing songs was a valid dream and aspiration to have. Everyone in those towns felt like, you know, they wanted to push these kind of like careers on you that are things that everybody before you did, be it, you know, work in the factory that's now closed down, or, you know, probably now the only promise for people in my town is working at the local Walmart or fast food. And to me, I knew from the day I was 10 years old that all I ever loved was music. I mean, even sooner than that. So to me, that was just as valid a dream to have as anything else. And if I wanted to be, you know, some clerical worker or work in a bank or, you know, a doctor or whatever, I could have done that. But I did what I wanted to do, and despite what those people did, you know, wanted me to do, and that's what that song's about. And yeah, I mean, that's probably my favorite that I've written. Anybody that wants to check out our tour dates or anything can at our Facebook, which Brian, our bass player, and I run, and it's just Facebook.com/the Ataris. And then we have a new 7-inch coming out in around April, May on a label out of Gainesville called Paper and Plastic. It's got 2 new songs, one of which will be on our new album. And then we have a new album coming out in the summer, like July, August, called The Graveyard of the Atlantic, and it'll have like 12 or 13 new songs. And that's really all the plans we have for now. You know, just keep touring and in between the releases and stuff, go back and make up certain markets and go overseas and do some more touring. That's really it. I mean, beyond that, who knows? Wherever the day takes us.
Well, I'd like to thank you for the interview.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
I hope the rest of the tour and whatever future endeavors work out pretty well.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you guys. Thank you for everything, for the interview. Cheers.